On YouTube at NNN Radio Live for special coverage of the conference from the Princess Grand Jamaica Hotel in Negril on Saturday, August 22 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hear from pharmacists, healthcare professionals, and industry leaders as they explore the new ideas, policies, and innovations shaping the future of healthcare in Jamaica and the Caribbean. For more information, visit psjconference.com and tune in live from the Princess Grand Jamaica Hotel, Negril, August 22 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Keep your dials locked to Nationwide 90 FM or join us on YouTube at NNN Radio Live. Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis.
Get Dad ready for every job with all the tools he needs this Father's Day. The time by Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Label Crafts Jamaica Limited offers exceptional finishes that will make your product extraordinary at an affordable cost. The Temperature by Label Crafts Jamaica Limited, the #1 choice for label printing, is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 31 in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, PIOJ says the economy has contracted by 2.9% in the April to June quarter compared to the corresponding quarter for 2025.
Today, we are reporting that the Jamaican economy recording an estimated contraction of 2.9%.
The latest forecast from the Met Service says the drought is about to get worse.
Minister Matthew Samuda says the government is now spending 10 times more on improving water infrastructure than it did a decade ago.
Students across the region score an overall 93.53% pass rate in Cape.
Newly installed JTA president calls for increased funding for the education sector.
In news from the rest of the world, OAS signs deal with Japan to award Haiti $3 million grant to help register voters.
UK Prime Minister says London will continue to support Ukraine.
In sports, Warner calls for football leaders in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago to take back the CFU.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, CSEC mathematics results are up across the Caribbean, with the pass rate moving from 39 to 42%. CXC Director of Operations Dr. Nicole Manning breaks down the results.
In the nation's business at 6:25, earthquakes have been making headlines around the world, with powerful tremors striking different countries in recent months. We explore earthquake frequency, Jamaica's level of preparedness, and the importance of regular drills with Chief Strategy Officer with the LEAP Co., Dr. Paris Liu Ayi Jr., Scientific Officer at the Earthquake Unit of the University of the West Indies, UWI Mona, Carleen Black, and Information Officer at the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Zadia Nufil.
At 7, it's the comments section. This evening, they're asking, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate Mark Malava's stint as JTA president? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
And at 8, it's Prescription for Life with Dr. Andre McDonald.
All these and more as we take you home on air, Nationwide 90 FM, this Tuesday afternoon. It's Tuesday, August 18, 2026.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Jamaican economy continues to be weighed down by the lingering effects of Hurricane Melissa, contracting by 2.9% in the April to June quarter compared to a similar period for 2025. That's according to estimates provided by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, in its latest quarterly media briefing on Tuesday. However, the PIOJ says the country's recovery is showing early signs of returning to growth. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
Hurricane Melissa remains a potent economic millstone nearly 10 months after the Category 5 system made landfall. According to PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry, the country's gross domestic product, GDP, continues to feel the impact.
Today, we are reporting that the Jamaican economy recording an estimated contraction of 2.9% compared with the corresponding quarter, April to June 2025. The outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the continued downturn in most industries due to the lingering impact of Hurricane Melissa. The hurricane led to an estimated decline in domestic demand as a result of a reduction in the employed labor force and lower levels of business and consumer confidence.
Both the goods producing and services industries suffered declines in the second quarter of 2026 compared to the previous period for 2025. The goods producing industries declined by 6.4%, with two key sectors showing significant double-digit declines. These are agriculture, which fell by 17%, and mining and quarrying, which fell by 23%. However, the construction and manufacturing sectors are already showing early signs of recovery, recording marginal gains of 0.3% and 1% respectively. For the services industries, the total decline was 1.7% for the quarter. Tourism, as represented by accommodation and food services, suffered the steepest contraction at just over 12%. However, Dr. Henry says month-on-month estimates confirm the economy is recovering, with positive growth expected by the end of the fiscal year.
Importantly, the latest GDP release from Statin confirms that the economy has begun to recover from the shock. The seasonally adjusted real value added for January to March 2026 increased by 3.3% compared with the October to December 2025 quarter, signaling a rebound in economic activity. The labor market data tells a similar story. Based on surveys conducted during the first week of the month, employment had risen by 29,400 persons compared with January. This brought total employment to 1,418,800 persons, surpassing the 1,413,200 employed in early October 2025, just before hurricane made landfall.
The PIOJ Director General says the data has given the body confidence to revise the timeline for a return to pre-Melissa economic output from 3 years down to at most 2.
With respect to the expected recovery timeline, immediately following Hurricane Melissa, the PIOJ projected that a return to pre-Melissa levels of output would take up to 3 years, that is by fiscal year 28-29. This estimate was grounded in the patterns observed following previous weather-related and other external shocks. However, given the pace of recovery so far, the current expected timeline for attaining pre-Melissa output levels is now within 1.5 to 2 years of the event.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Principal Director of Economic Planning and Research at the PIOJ, James Stewart, says the revised timeline for Melissa recovery is partially contingent on the smooth rollout of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA. He says overall government expenditure suggests a better than expected economic stimulus.
Yes, it considers the likely impact of NARA. It does. And it's not just NARA, the government's capital expenditure, just the normal PSIP investment program, is showing some strong movements. For the April to June quarter, we saw that it increased by 55%, over 55%. So government expenditure generally is pushing the recovery. And this was factored in considering the pace of recovery.
But Stewart says the PIOJ is fairly confident in its estimates.
At this point, based on what we have seen thus far and based on what we have experienced during the last quarter, we are confident that 1.5 to 2 years should be sufficient for the recovery. And this recovery, as the presentation pointed out, is only with respect to output levels. In terms of rebuilding generally, in terms of your housing stocks, livelihoods, employment, everything, that may take a bit longer. We are thinking that will be somewhere between 3 to 5 years.
James Stewart, Principal Director of Economic Planning and Research at the PIOJ.
It's about to get even hotter. That's according to the latest outlook of the ongoing drought period by the Met Service of Jamaica. The disclosure was made during a meeting of the Drought Management Committee on Tuesday. Shalois Michael reports.
According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the ongoing El Niño climate phenomenon could strengthen up to 92% by November this year. As such, Jamaicans should brace for higher daytime temperatures, warmer nights, and a greater risk of heat stress and dehydration. Providing a bleak update on Tuesday, the Met Service says the dry period is worsening. No rainfall was recorded between May and June in St. Anne, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, St. Mary, and St. Andrew. Drought conditions were particularly worse in St. James, St. Anne, Westmoreland, and St. Catherine between June and July. Parishes which also faced drought challenges include St. Elizabeth, St. Mary, and Manchester. Speaking on Tuesday during OPM On Air, Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change Matthew Samuda says the next 3 weeks are not looking good.
The projections and forecasts from the Met Service do not suggest any rainfall of consequence in Jamaica over the next 3 weeks. And that is incredibly unusual. And it is largely because of the El Niño phenomenon which we're experiencing. And we have to remember, Jamaica has 2 periods of intense rainfall, usually in May, and then towards the end of August, going through September and October. And that carries us through the years. And the reality is over the last 3 months, we've had significantly lower rainfall against our 30-year average. So May, June, July, which is usually a period of some moisture. None, really, in most of the island.
According to the Met Service, rainfall is expected to significantly decline between August and October in Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. A drought watch is also forecasted for St. Thomas and Portland. Minister Samuda says his office is paying keen attention to Clarendon.
We're getting some rainfall in the hills of Hanover and Westmoreland and sections of St. Elizabeth. So the westernmost parishes are actually, getting some good rainfall. But that's still a little below where it should be. So we're monitoring those systems very, very carefully. Where we're struggling is St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, and of course the hills of Kingston and St. Andrew. St. Catherine has seen noticeable declines, and the hills of St. Anne are parched and very dry. We're watching Clarendon very closely. We're not quite there with Clarendon yet, but Clarendon, I think, is likely to be next in terms of what we'll have to take serious measures with.
The outlook for August 16 to September 20 this year is particularly troubling. The Met Service says there is expected to be below normal rainfall up to 80% this week across the island. Temperatures are also expected to be above normal island-wide, ranging up to 90%. The minister has warned that the prolonged dry conditions could last until May next year. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Matthew Samuda says the government is now spending 10 times more on improving water infrastructure across the island than it did a decade ago. But even that, some $15 billion per year, is not enough to ensure water security amid increasingly long dry spells brought on by climate change.
We're often accused of not being proactive, and it's invariably been a matter of economics. It's not because you don't want to lay the pipe earlier. You haven't had the funds because of our economic size and the decades of economic malaise. You've not invested in your capital replacement ratio. It's been far less than it should be. We are spending a little over $15 billion across varying government agencies on water infrastructure this year. That is over 10 times more than what was being spent when we formed the government in 2016. And that, by my estimate, is a fifth of what we really need to truly transform the water sector.
Minister Samuda says the amount needed as per a World Bank study is closer to $75 billion per year. He says the projection is for the amount invested to increase to as much as $30 billion in as little as 2 years.
That estimate is based on the World Bank's water sector group. They assessed that the Jamaican water sector required an investment of $5 billion over a 10-year period to truly achieve your water ambitions. So that just needs to be understood. So if you do the currency conversion and you say, well, you really should be spending $75 billion a year, but you also have to make sure that you have proper designs, you have proper project oversight, the projects have gone through the proper PIAD process. So it takes some time to upsize that. I believe we will close some of the gap over the next 2 to 3 years. We could get up to 25 and 30. It will be difficult, but I am sharing that we are doing more than was ever done before, and we could pat ourselves on the back. But that's of no moment to someone who doesn't have water this morning.
Matthew Samuda, Water Minister. He was a guest on the OPM On Air segment of Nationwide's Cliff Hughes Online on Tuesday. Samuda's comments come amid increasingly dry conditions affecting the eastern sections of the island. In response, the ministry has imposed water prohibition notices for 7 parishes, which restrict the use of the commodity supplied by the National Water Commission.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
It's IQ Optical's sizzling summer sale. For this month only, get 50% off lenses when you purchase a frame. Kids get free lenses with a purchase of a frame. Make the intelligent choice with IQ Optical. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is
5:15.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 31 in Montego Bay.
Jamaica, get on the road. Discover taste and celebrate and have fun. Join the vibes, get on the road. Yo, Jamaica, get on the rum.
This month, get on the rum with Appleton Estate Jamaica Rum. Experience extraordinary live music across the island with our limited edition Appleton Estate Sherry Cask rum cocktails and more. Experience Appleton Estate like never before. Get on the rum and celebrate Appleton Estate Rum Month. Must be 18 years old to drink. Drink responsibly.
Yo, Jamaica, get on the rum.
Continuing the news, students across the region have scored an overall 93.53% pass rate in the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE. The results were released by CXC's Director of Operations, Dr. Nicole Manning, during a ceremony in Anguilla on Tuesday. Among the top performing subjects was Caribbean Studies. It had a regional percentage pass rate of 98%. Information Technology Unit 1 had a regional pass rate of 95%, while Unit 2 was 99%. And in Environmental Science Unit 1, the rate was 97% and 96% for Unit 2 across the region. Students also scored a 97% pass rate in Physics Unit 1 and a 98% in Unit 2. Meanwhile, Dr. Manning says the overall pass rate for the 2026 Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, is 72.18%, a slight increase from the 71.42% recorded in 2025. The top performing subjects include Information Technology with a regional performance of 83% and Principles of Business at 81%. Dr. Manning says there has been a slight increase in the pass rate for CSEC mathematics across the region for this year. The pass rate for 2026 stood at 42%. This compares with the 39% for 2025. English A has maintained a pass rate of 80%.
President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, LaSonia Harrison, says despite the government's efforts, the funding for the education sector is still inadequate. Harrison made the declaration in her address at the JTA's 62nd annual conference at Ocean Coral Spring Hotel in Trelawney on Monday.
As we continue the conversation about supporting our schools, even with the release of the latest funding model, While we applaud the recognition by the government and its willingness to attempt to do something, that which it currently expends on the sector is still inadequate. Notwithstanding, let our efforts be not born out of expediency, but rather meaningful, intentional, and deliberate actions to get the requisite funds that we actually need to operate.
Harrison was installed as new JTA president for 2026 to 2027 on Monday. She previously served in the post from 2022 to 2023. According to Harrison, no meaningful benefit is being seen even with adjustments.
830 million increase shared among 1,010 schools. Infant, primary, and secondary amounts to some $821,782.17 if it were equally shared, and we know that that is not the case. Our small schools will be flipping and saying yippee to some extent, but certainly not our larger primary and high schools. Either way, Minister, the needle has not moved in a meaningful way, even with the adjustments.
LaSonia Harrison, newly installed JTA president.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The Organization of American States, OAS, on Tuesday signed a deal with Japan to award a $3 million grant to help Haiti register voters. This as the country prepares to hold general elections for the first time in more than a decade. Presidential and legislative elections are set for December 13 this year, with a runoff vote on February 21, 2027. The OAS says the money will help Haiti update its voters' lists and procure 350,000 blank identification cards.
UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham says London will continue to support Ukraine after Moscow warned of consequences following confirmation that British-made drones were used in recent Ukrainian strikes in Russia. The Russian embassy in the UK previously accused Britain of deliberately opting to escalate the Ukraine crisis. The embassy warned that the deeper the UK involved itself in the ongoing conflict, the higher the price it would pay. The Russian embassy did not elaborate on the type of threat Moscow being considered.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the stories making nationwide news at this hour, PIOJ says the economy has contracted by 2.9% in the April to June quarter compared to the corresponding quarter for 2025.
The latest forecast from the Met Service says the drought is about to get worse.
Minister Matthew Samuda says the government is now spending 10 times more on improving water infrastructure than it did a decade ago.
Students across the region score an overall 93.53% pass rate in Cape.
I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and join the Nationwide Family Club at patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. News next, the headlines at 6.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Bring the heat, feel the vibes. Walkers what brings any meal to life. Great food, great time, side by side. Grill any food type, anywhere you like. Jerk it, sauce it, flavor in every bite. Real Jamaican taste, yeah man, ignite. Bring the heat, feel the vibes. Make moments feel alright. Bring the heat, feel the vibes. Walkers what brings any meal to life. Cook up real flavor and vibes in the kitchen, grill or barbecue. With Walkers with seasonings.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on football. Jamaica's Mount Pleasant Academy and Cibao of the Dominican Republic. Their goalless after 24 minutes in their CONCACAF Caribbean Cup encounter at the National Stadium. Mount Pleasant are the defending champions. They came through to the regular CFU competition by virtue of winning the Shield. Portmore United, the national champions, and Cavalier are the other Jamaican teams in the competition. Defending champions Jamaica, well, they made it 2 wins from as many starts on Tuesday at the CFU Under-14 Boys Challenger Series in the Dominican Republic. The Young Reggae Boys defeated Aruba by 1-0 in their Tier 1 Group C encounter. Here is Christian Foster, you're seeing there for those watching on our YouTube channel, scoring that goal. He came off the bench and to hit home in the 41st minute to give Jamaica the victory. Foster was named man of the match for his contribution.
I feel great, the team's in high spirits. I just want to continue to do well and score goals for my family. I expect us to keep the same energy or increase it, and I expect us to continue to win the games, and we want to go for the title.
All right, that's Christian Foster. The victory keeps Jamaica atop Group C with 6 points from as many games, from 2 games that is. The champions have moved their goal tally to 5, and they are yet to concede. Jamaica will return to action on Wednesday when they take on Curaçao. Former FIFA Vice President Austin Jack Warner says football leaders in Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago should find a candidate to wrest the leadership of the Caribbean Football Union from St. Lucia's Lyndon Cooper, or else the region's football will perish. Warner, who served many years as head of CONCACAF, says Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago are the 2 biggest players in the region and should take the leadership of the Caribbean Football Union. However, when asked who in Jamaica he thinks has the ability to lead, this was Mr. Warner's reaction.
I have seen nobody in Jamaica either. The person and guys and so on, to me, they of course don't know where to turn, where to go. They lack vision, they lack management skills. They don't understand that the power they have and how it can be used, and therefore they are paying a price. There's no Captain Burrell in Jamaica anymore. There's no Captain Burrell. There's no Anthony James. Right? These guys, of course, who were there and who colored the FIFA and who colored Mexico and the USA, they are gone, and there is nobody today who wants to take the bull by the horns.
And Warner says it doesn't matter which of the 2 big guns provide the leadership. He says a challenger must step forward.
I'm a praying man, and who knows, someday my prayer might be answered, but I'm not seeing anything as yet. But I want to repeat, somebody in Trinidad and Tobago has to rise up. Or if you want to go as far as Jamaica, has to rise up and take the bull by the horns. Other than that, football here in the region shall not rise, shall not prosper, shall not succeed.
Cooper succeeded Randy Harris of Barbados as CFU president last March at the 48th Annual Congress. Harris did not seek re-election, and Cooper won unopposed. Jamaica Football Federation President Michael Ricketts is one of 4 vice presidents to Cooper. Warner says with CFU having 31 votes, a strong CFU leader could inspire a challenge for a Caribbean administrator to become once again CONCACAF president. And Warner was talking to Andre Baptiste in Trinidad and Tobago. Cricket now, the West Indies all-rounders Justin Greaves and Hayley Matthews have achieved a rare feat by winning the ICC Player of the Month awards for July. It marks the first time that both awards have been won by West Indies players simultaneously, and is only the 5th time since the awards began in January 2021 that players from the same nation have secured both honors. The 32-year-old Greaves beat England's Harry Brook and Tanzid Hassan of Bangladesh for the coveted prize, while Matthews, the West Indies women's captain, overcame challenges from England's Nat Shiva Brunt and Sri Lanka's Arishta Samarakurima. Now, Greaves claimed the award after starring in the successive Test series against Sri Lanka and, of course, Pakistan, and he was named Player of the Series on both occasions. Matthews copped the award for a 5th time after a superb performance against Ireland women in their one-day international series. The 28-year-old had a prolific run for the West Indies in Ireland, scoring some 265 runs over 3 games to secure a 3-0 series win for the West Indies. And finally, in sports at this time, hard-hitting all-rounder Andre Russell is urging the Jamaica Kingsmen to end the home leg of the Caribbean Premier League on a high, following their victory at Sabina Park on Saturday over the defending champions, the Trinbago Knight Riders. The Kingsmen will take on Jason Holders, St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at Sabina Park tonight, Tuesday, starting at 7 p.m. as they seek to end the 4-match home stretch. Russell is hoping to have a happy ending.
It means so much to all the players that dream over the last couple of years that we've been dreaming about. It's not reality. So to hear those horns at Sabina Park, it's a memorable sound. A 6 or a wicket or a 4, the horns, they just keep getting louder and louder. So it means a lot to the younger generation. I think a lot of people kind of give up on cricket in terms of this franchise thing, and I'm happy that the government and good owner like our owner get involved and get back this amazing sport back in Jamaica.
And West Indies Test batsman Kirk McKenzie was the star of Saturday night's victory against Trinidad and Tobago. And he says playing in the CPL for his home franchise is a dream come true.
Growing up, being on one side, cheering on guys like Russell, Ravman, blowing the horns, and now being on the other side, hearing the horns being blown, for me is a surreal feeling, to be honest. Didn't have this franchise at home for quite a while, and now it's back home. I was playing games at home in front of our family and friends. Exciting feeling.
That's Kirk McKenzie and the Jamaica Kingsmen. They're currently at the foot of the table. In the standings, of course, they've got a win from 4 games, which means they have 2 points. If you can go out and support them tonight up at Sabina Park, that would be nice. All right, again, Mount Pleasant and Cibao, goalless in Caribbean club football action at the National Stadium. It's now 30 minutes into that game, and it's still goalless. We're going to leave you now, but when we come back at 6:05 with our main sportscast, Alex Ruby will be here for that one for you. We'll have further updates on these ongoing games.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:31.
From the vibrant waterfront setting of Ocho Rios Bay Beach to the breathtaking seascape of Laughing Waters, discover exceptional venues for your special events. The temperature by the Urban Development Corporation is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story, aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. Welcome. It's time for Nationwide at 5, and we start off with the cover story. As always, I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell, and we turn to the matter of regional education because there's been a 4% increase in the pass rate for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, that's CSEC, mathematics across the region this year. According to the results for 2026, the subject recorded 42%. This compares with 39% for 2025. Meanwhile, English A has maintained a pass mark of 80%. The results were released by the Director of Operations at the Caribbean Examination Council, Dr. Nicole Manning, during a ceremony in Anguilla earlier today. Dr. Manning says the overall pass rate for CSEC this year is 72.18%. A slight increase from the 71.42% recorded in 2025. The top performing subjects include information technology with a regional performance of 83% and principles of business at 81%. In the meantime, CXC says 88% of students who participated in Module 1 of the pilot for Caribbean Targeted Education Certificate, that's CTEC, achieved an acceptable grade. CTEC introduces micro-credentials, allowing students to earn recognized qualifications at each stage of their educational journey. Over 1,000 Jamaican students registered for that module. Candidates who sat Module 1 will have the opportunity to complete Module 2 and 3 free of charge. Well, to discuss further, we are now being joined by Director of Operations at the Caribbean Examination Council, that's Dr. Nicole Manning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Siobhan, and a very good afternoon to you and your listeners. Hope all is well.
It is good to hear from you, Dr. Manning. So getting right into it, Dr. Manning, while I do celebrate the increase in passes for math, though, it seems that regionally we're still struggling a bit with this subject. Have you identified what seems to be what is essentially holding students back from this very critical area?
Well, this is something that as a region we are still working on, but I would say hastily that this year when we did our inaugural conference, we did find quite a few areas that educators in general identified as gaps that would have exist. And gaps such as in terms of the candidates' whole teaching style, learning style, and necessary and important is how we pull together the teaching, learning, and assessment that happens, not only in the classroom, but generally. This is not something that is new to the region or even to Jamaica, but it's something that's global, because you would have heard many times, persons across the world complaining about individuals' just general performance on math. But I believe, coming from that conference that we had, that we have identified a few things, and I must say that we're going to be doing our educational assessment task force that will include the ecosystem in the Caribbean, because we need to break the back of this. This is not the only thing but it's a very important part of it will be a very important part of the discussion.
And please tell me, I don't see it listed here, but how well did these students do this year in terms of the sciences, physics, biology, chemistry? Have we seen any improvements over the years?
Oh yes. As you rightfully said earlier, that we saw some improvement in those areas also. So, for example, if you look at, generally integrated science and a few of the other areas, I can give you some specifics in terms of those. While physics, for example, we saw it's now at 69%. In the previous year, it was 64%. So it's a marginal 5% increase, but still yet it is an increase. And so those are some of the areas that we are looking at and seeing where the candidates are performing much better. I must also say to you that in relation to general areas like geography and so on, we did see some increase. Food, nutrition, and health were also areas that we saw an increase in terms of the candidates' performance. But chemistry was much larger than physics. Chemistry, in fact, had an increase over previous year of almost 10%. So, yes, the sciences did see some improvement.
And further, the area of information technology, I see where there has been a marked improvement, and that is important considering the age of technology we now live in. How has CXC managed to essentially close that gap?
So, as I said before, it's really about the candidates and kudos to the teachers, hardworking teachers, parents, and guardians who work with the students to make this a reality. I really believe that's where the credit really needs to sit. The students studied. I believe the teachers would have done what they needed to do, and the education system as a whole. However, what I would also say is that the tools that are provided, we did, as best as possible, provide other support in terms of subject reports that are available online. We have done quite a bit of improvement there. Over the years, we have been giving additional feedback, and that's more recent years, to the teachers themselves, even in terms of the candidates' work. And so we expect that these things will add up, similar to what we're seeing with the math. It won't happen overnight, but every increase should be celebrated, and I really want to encourage us to do that.
And tell me, Ms. Dr. Manning, on the same topic of information technology, because it's one of those subjects that the ability to learn it is reflected in the infrastructure provided in order to ensure that that subject gets the proper attention. How does CXC play a hand in ensuring that educational institutions are providing the environment where that subject can be mastered? And it seems that somehow it's being accomplished, because 83% pass rate for information technology is very impressive.
So I will say two things. The Carbon Examinations Council seeks to continue with our teacher training orientation workshops, and we do sessions of this nature. We do item writing workshops and involve teachers on the ground. In our marking process, we also involve teachers, and we do know that because as a part of marking, we standardize how teachers operate. So we believe and know that that capacity building also helps. And that's why we invite different persons to apply to mark, because we know even though you're marking, you're doing something, you're being paid for it. But it's also a part of the capacity building process, because it's a quality assured process. And so if you are not marking in line with our standard, then you have to either be developed, and if it is that's not working, then we have a short period for that. So therefore you may be suspended. It can happen. But the experience you walk away with having been standardized is beautiful. So it's several things that CXC is also doing as a part of the development process for the teachers who engage with us.
And please remind me, I know we're a year's past now, but these kinds of challenges tend to linger for some time. So have we seen where things have essentially in terms of the education and learning gaps presented after COVID-19 are now well and truly behind us? Have things now gone back to normal?
All right, so I wouldn't say that things have gone back to normal because even particularly, let us say for Jamaica, where you had your western side of the island being affected by Hurricane Melissa. And then you have other parishes that also would have been affected by Hurricane Beryl. So you had COVID, and you had Hurricane Beryl, and you had Hurricane Melissa. So it all depends on the jurisdiction we're speaking about. And we wouldn't want to put a one-size-fits-all. But I would say, generally, when we looked at what happened this year, we did see an overall improvement in performance for the region, and that's good. In addition to that, even this year when I was doing the presentation, one of the things we looked at is how regions performed, how many territories performed above the regional percentage of acceptable grades. So for Cape, for example, we saw, even though it's slight, it's good because Cape performs very well every year. So the Cape performance is like the overall regional performance is 93.52%. That means 93.52% of the candidates who sat all components received an acceptable grade for Cape.
Excellent.
And that is very good. We need to really congratulate the students in that regard. And for CSEC, while it's not in the 90s, it's 72.18%, an increase over the last 3 years. It has been increasing bit by bit, but we are happy to see that increase every time. And so it is something that the region should celebrate because we're talking about over 60-odd subjects. For the Cape, it's Cape 1 and 2. So you really, if you add them, if you were to treat with them separately, you're really speaking about over 180 something. So it's beautiful to really note that the students are doing well generally because a regional percentage is very good. But we are saying territories would look, they know the regional percentage of acceptable grades, and they need to do their own deep dive as to, what's happening with us, because we did see performance varying in some areas.
Precisely. Dr. Manning, please stay with us. We're up on a break, and then we come right back, and I want to talk about this new novel CTEC program.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and it's 30 out west in Montego Bay.
KFC, summertime and the vibe is right. So my bucket fit the crew and we feel alright. 9 pieces of chicken with the family fries and a 2-liter Pepsi on the side. When we roll out, when we go out, so my bucket are the one thing we sure about.
Enjoy the taste of summer with the KFC Summer Bucket. 9 pieces of delicious chicken, a family serving of fries, and a 2-liter Pepsi, all for $4,700. Available for a limited time. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Jamaica, get on the road. Discover taste and celebrate and have fun. Join the vibes, get on the road. Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
This month, get on the rum with Appleton Estate Jamaica Rum. Experience extraordinary live music across the island with our limited edition Appleton Estate Sherry Cask rum cocktails and more. Experience Appleton Estate like never before. Get on the rum and celebrate Appleton Estate Rum Month. Must be 18 years old to drink. Drink responsibly.
Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
Already have a T-tag for your vehicle? Just top it up and go through. You can now conveniently add funds to your T-tag on WhatsApp. Just save our T-tag WhatsApp number 876-355-3336 and send us a message when you want to top up. Top up your T-tag and continue to go through quicker and cheaper on Transjam highways.
Welcome back to the Cover Story, listeners, viewers. We are talking with Dr. Nicole Manning. She's the Director of Operations at the Caribbean Examination Council. The students who sat CSEC this year doing very well with a overall 72% pass rate, compared that to a 71.42% recorded last year. And last year, specifically, Dr. Manning, this CTEC thing was introduced, and I know it was very novel. It's a very specific type of program, but for our listeners, please explain to us how CTEC differentiated itself from CSEC and why, and remind us why CXC felt that this was a necessary addition to its program lineup.
So, as we have been saying, over the years, there are two things that has become a concern for CXC. We want, at the heart of it, we want to see our students in the region perform well. And so we had to look, and still looking, at the best, providing the best opportunity for those candidates. And so with the consciousness of the fact that everyone does not operate the same way, we don't all learn the same way, we don't all learn at the same pace, as well as, coupled with that, I want opportunities to create my own profile. I think our new generation that's here now, and even those that, we have been talking about lifelong learning, it's important to understand that I want to create my own profile. I'm not sure for you, but back in the day, if you were doing very well, you had to do the sciences. And if they thought that you were a business student, then you did all business subjects. Now that flexibility is saying to us that we need to provide as much flexibility as possible. And the Caribbean Targeted Education Certificate will provide that flexibility. Now, the good thing about it is that CAPE has always been modularized.
Yes.
And so this conversation around providing a solution for math came from several angles. One, how can we provide a more manageable examination for our candidates in modules that will all still allow them to ensure employability, higher education, and for their own want to probably maybe go into entrepreneurial activities. And so we had to make sure that whatever we came up with maintained the standards that are currently being used for those three things. And so what we did was to use our very philosophy of the modularization of CAPE to do that same modularization of CSEC. And so we know it will answer do the two things. It will provide for that candidate who operates differently in terms of their learning rate and style and so on. But it will also provide that flexibility for another candidate who may be interested in engineering, but I want to do entrepreneurial, or I want to make sure I can do my own business plan. I may not want to do a principles of business as a whole subject, but eventually I'll be able to do a module in the area concentrated on business planning, while another candidate can decide, I'm going to start doing Module 1 math early from third form, and I can take my time and do a Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3, because the beautiful thing of it is once I've done all three modules in whatever form and combination I want to do it in, I'm going to get a CSEC certificate just the same. It's the same standard that will be recognized worldwide. That is the solution to the problem.
And tell me, what's been the take-up? I know it says about 1,000 people here in Jamaica have onboarded with the CTEC. What has been the take-up regionally, actually?
So for the pilot, what we did is we were targeting a few candidates for a pilot for a Module 1. So we did two things concurrently. We released the syllabus, the modularized syllabus for 4 subjects. That would be Math, English A, English B, and Integrated Science in 2025. But for the math Module 1, we were able to pilot that in 2026. And in so doing, we just needed a small group. So it was free of cost. 2,535 candidates were registered through the ministry. So it wasn't the students who selected themselves. It would have been the ministry and the schools in collaboration.
Okay.
Right. And so what we have gone further to do is we are also noting that, remember I said that the syllabus would have been released in 2025. So that syllabus being released in 2025 tells you that a candidate who does an exam in 2026 and got Module 1, for example, a CSEC candidate, because a CSEC candidate can see on their pre-slip, their bracelet that they received today, that they have received a Module 1. What that tells me, a couple things. One, let me start with those who were, they got a grade 4 and a grade 5, let us say. But quite a few of those candidates also got Module 1. So therefore means that that candidate would not have to resit CSEC, but they can choose to resit Modules 2 and 3 together. They can choose to resit Module 2 or 3. So they're not doing the full CSEC, and I'm using the word full in quotation just to bring home the point a little stronger. So that is important to note, that candidates who got that, the Module 1 this time around. Now, you also had candidates who they got acceptable grades for the CSEC math, for example. So that would have, the candidates who did grades 1 to 3, we call those acceptable grades. We tend not to use the word pass or fail. Now, those candidates would also see on their slip the math Module 1 for CTEC. Why? Because we know as we roll out next year, those 4 subjects that will be assessed, those modularized assessments, and we have quite a few more that are coming every year. Those 4 subjects, when you do your assessment, you are now going to see more details. What does that mean? Employers can look and see that you did CSEC math, you got a grade 2, for example, but the details of what Module 1 is, what a Module 2 is, and what a Module 3 is, will give that employer far more information for them to understand your strengths in math, let us say, because we're talking about math. But it could have been strengths in integrated science and eventually any other subject that is out there. So that is the beauty this year for CTEC. So we had the pilot, but then you had quite a few other candidates, over 38,000 candidates who received a grade 4 or 5 that also got the Module 1. But you understand the impact of that?
It gives them room to grow. But my question, though, under the circumstances, Dr. Manning, have you identified anything that probably needs tightening once you move on from this pilot?
Well, let us say, remember, and I would say, because it's a pilot, we have to then do our evaluation and speak with our territories and get an understanding of their experience. But I would say we met with the ministries, because we always do that before we release results. And when we shared the information, and some of which I shared today, where you have some centers over the years that have barely been having candidates succeeding in the math. And when you see this year that a candidate now is coming out with at least a Module 1 and do not have to do over everything. In other words, they can have concentrated effort on smaller bite sizes, as well as that Module 1 is a micro-credential. So they can already utilize it to move forward in several areas. We also spoke with employers, I must say this. And when we spoke with the employers, they were very happy that we were going in this direction. Because there are times when they'll say to you, I really do not need a candidate with all of this information. I need a candidate in a specific area. And that is also the flexibility that the CTEC will give. So we still do the evaluation, but one of the things we need to never forget that CTEC is a stackable credential. It is the same standard as CSEC, and it will provide that flexibility for candidates, especially given the result, the real fact that the candidates they have 4 years within which to do all of these modules, and they do not have to do over a paper 3-2 or an SBA, regardless of how they did the exam. They're good, because that grade is transferable.
And I suppose that this is being targeted less at people who are going through the formal education system and more towards those individuals who might, say, be working or otherwise engaged and simply looking for a way to improve without giving the full commitment that that kind of standard CSEC requirement would be.
That's why I explained it the way I did, because we're not putting our micro-credential in a box, meaning to say it's for one group. As an organization, you can well understand that if you have a problem, and this is how strategy works, you have a problem, you create a strategy to address the problem. So the problem would not have been only the fact that some candidates would require to do things in bite sizes. No. There is also a problem of flexibility and as an individual, opportunity to create my own profile. That is big on the list. So I, as an individual, doing all of these science subjects, as I said, I was a science student. I would have loved to do a business subject.
Yes.
Or a component of one, or several components. So I would not have to do 15 CSEC subjects. I can do 8 and then do modules in the others of areas of interest. We're going to see that the employers, because when we spoke with them, they got it. They are very happy about it. The employers we spoke with in Trinidad, we spoke with Trinidad and Tobago, we spoke with employers in Barbados, we spoke with employers in Jamaica, we even spoke with employers in Anguilla today too. And they are excited about it because they are interested in those areas. And even the higher education system, they are also wanting to, they're happy that more students would be successful and able to earn their place for further education.
I hear you. That is Director of Operations at the Caribbean Examination Council, Dr. Nicole Manning. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, Dr. Manning, and all the best.
Thank you very much, Siobhan, and all the best to you and your listeners.
Well, listeners, the headlines are next, and then we come back here at 6:25.
Are you ready to level up your future? The University of the Commonwealth Caribbean is hitting the road, and Nationwide 90 FM is bringing you all the action. Broadcasting live from the Halfway Tree Transport Center on Friday, August 28 from 1 to 3 p.m. with your hosts, Kareem and Honey B. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM and on YouTube at NNN Radio Live for the inside scoop on scholarships, flexible payment options, and career-focused study pathways designed to move you forward. Better yet, bring a friend and come on down. Get your one-on-one with the UCC representatives who will be ready to answer all your questions. That's the UCC Recruitment Roadshow, Friday, August 28th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Halfway Tree Transport Center. Keep your dials locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. UCC, fostering leadership and innovation.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is 6:01.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. It's about to get even hotter. That's according to the latest outlook of the ongoing drought by the Met Service of Jamaica. The disclosure was made during a meeting of the Drought Management Committee on Tuesday. Shalois Michael reports.
According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the ongoing El Niño climate phenomenon could strengthen up to 92% by November this year. As such, Jamaicans should brace for higher daytime temperatures, warmer nights, and a greater risk of heat stress and dehydration. Providing a bleak update on Tuesday, the Met Service says the dry period is worsening. No rainfall was recorded between May and June in St. Anne, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, St. Mary, and St. Andrew. Drought conditions were particularly worse in St. James, St. Anne, Westmoreland, and St. Catherine between June and July. Parishes which also faced drought challenges include St. Elizabeth, St. Mary, and Manchester. Speaking on Tuesday during OPM On Air, Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change Matthew Samuda says the next 3 weeks are not looking good.
The projections and forecasts from the Met Service do not suggest any rainfall of consequence in Jamaica over the next 3 weeks. And that is incredibly unusual. And it is largely because of the El Nino phenomenon which we're experiencing. And we have to remember, Jamaica has 2 periods of intense rainfall, usually in May, and then towards the end of August, going through September and October. And that carries us through the years. And the reality is over the last 3 months, we've had significantly lower rainfall against our 30-year average. So May, June, July, which is usually a period of some moisture. None, really, in most of the island.
According to the Met Service, rainfall is expected to significantly decline between August and October in Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. A drought watch is also forecasted for St. Thomas and Portland. Minister Samuda says his office is paying keen attention to Clarendon.
We're getting some rainfall in the hills of Hanover and Westmoreland and sections of St. Elizabeth. So the westernmost parishes are actually, getting some good rainfall. But that's still a little below where it should be. So we're monitoring those systems very, very carefully. Where we're struggling is St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, and of course the hills of Kingston and St. Andrew. St. Catherine has seen noticeable declines, and the hills of St. Anne are parched and very dry. We're watching Clarendon very closely. We're not quite there with Clarendon yet, but Clarendon I think is likely to be next in terms of what we'll have to take serious measures with.
The outlook for August 16 to September 20 this year is particularly troubling. The Met Service says there is expected to be below normal rainfall up to 80% this week across the island. Temperatures are also expected to be above normal island-wide, ranging up to 90%. The minister has warned that the prolonged dry conditions could last until May next year. Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Thanks, Shaloy. The Jamaican economy continues to be weighed down by the lingering effects of Hurricane Melissa, contracting by 2.9% in the April to June quarter compared to a similar period for 2025. That's according to estimates provided by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, in its latest quarterly media briefing on Tuesday. However, the PIOJ says the country's recovery is showing early signs of returning to growth. Hurricane Melissa remains a potent economic milestone, nearly 10 months after the Category 5 system made landfall, according to PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry. The country's gross domestic product, GDP, continues to feel the impact.
Today, we are reporting that the Jamaican economy recording an estimated contraction of 2.9% compared with the corresponding quarter, April to June 2025. The outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the continued downturn in most industries due to the lingering impact of Hurricane Melissa. The hurricane led to an estimated decline in domestic demand as a result of a reduction in the employed labor force and lower levels of business and consumer confidence.
Both the goods producing and services industry suffered declines in the second quarter of 2026 compared to the previous period for 2025. The goods producing industries declined by 6.4%, with two key sectors showing significant double-digit declines. These are agriculture, which fell by 17%, and mining and quarrying, which fell by 23%. However, the construction and manufacturing sectors are already showing early signs of recovery, recording marginal gains of 0.3% and 1.1%, respectively. For the services industries, the total decline was 1.7% for the quarter. Tourism, as represented by accommodation and food services, suffered the steepest contract at just over 12%. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. Sports is next.
Every great project starts at Creative Building Finishes, Jamaica's only choice for the best tiles, best bathrooms, and best kitchens. Whether you're designing, building, renovating, or selecting materials for your next project, we offer exceptional quality, standout designs, and expert guidance you can trust. Visit our showroom in Kingston or Traxall, or explore full range online at www.creativebuildingfinishes.com. Creative Building Finishes, your beautiful finish begins here.
Heading back to university this summer? You're probably thinking about tuition, books, and maybe even replacing that laptop that's been hanging on by a thread. We've all been there. The good news? Paying for your education doesn't have to happen all at once. With a Barita Merchant Bank Tertiary Loan, you can borrow $500,000 and above, repay over up to 5 years, and even begin repaying while you study. So you can spend less time worrying about how to pay for school and more time focusing on what really matters: graduating. Call 876-618-3455 or email banksales@barita.com or visit baritamerchantbank.com/school loans. Barita Merchant Bank, let's get you there.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
If you love the vibes, the laughs, and the real talk, then you're one of us. Don't just listen, belong. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alwix Raby. We kick things off with some football as Ciboa of the Dominican Republic are leading defending champions Mount Pleasant Academy of Jamaica 1-0 at halftime in their CONCACAF Caribbean Cup encounter at the National Stadium. Diego Ledesma got the lone goal so far after 41 minutes. National champions Portmore United and Cavalier are the other Jamaican teams in the competition. Let's take a quick break and come back with more here on Nationwide 90 FM. Welcome back and continuing with football as defending champions Jamaica made it 2 wins from as many starts on Tuesday at the CFU Under-14 Boys Challenger Series in the Dominican Republic. The Young Reggae Boys defeated Aruba 1-0 in their Tier 1 Group C encounter with Hillel's Christian Foster coming off the bench to score the decisive goal in the 41st minute. Foster was named man of the match for his match-winning contribution.
Scored a goal, come off the bench and change the game. I feel great. The team's in high spirits. I just want to continue to do well and score goals for my family. I expect us to keep the same energy or increase it, and I expect us to continue to win the games, and we want to go for the title.
Christian Foster, the victory keeps Jamaica atop Group C with 6 points from 2 matches. The champions have moved their goal tally to 5 and they are yet to concede. Jamaica will return to action on Wednesday when they face Curaçao. Now, former FIFA Vice President Austin Jack Warner says football leaders in Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago should find a candidate to wrest the leadership of the Caribbean Football Union from St. Lucia's Lyndon Cooper, or else the region's football will perish. Warner, who served many years as head of CONCACAF, says Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago are the two big players in the region and should take leadership of Caribbean football. However, when asked who in Jamaica he thinks has the ability to lead, this was his response.
I have seen nobody in Jamaica either. The person and guys and so on, to me, they of course don't know where to turn, where to go. They lack vision, they lack management skills. They don't understand that the power they have and how it can be used, and therefore they are paying a price. There's no Captain Burrell in Jamaica anymore. There is no Captain Burrell. There is no Anthony James. Right? These guys, of course, who were there and who colored the FIFA and who colored Mexico and the USA, they are gone. And there is nobody today who wants to take the bull by the horns.
Warner says it doesn't matter which of the big two provides the leadership, a challenger must step forward.
I'm a praying man, and who knows, someday my prayer might be answered. But I'm not seeing anything as yet. But I want to repeat, somebody in Trinidad and Tobago has to rise up. Or if you want to go as far as Jamaica, has to rise up and take the bull by the horns. Other than that, football here in the region shall not rise, shall not prosper, shall not succeed.
Austin Jack Warner. Cooper succeeded Randy Harris of Barbados as CFU president last March at the 48th Ordinary Congress. Jamaica Football Federation President Michael Ricketts is one of Cooper's 4 vice presidents. Warner says with CFU having 31 votes, a strong CFU leader could inspire a challenge for a Caribbean administrator to be CONCACAF president. Now, football's governing body FIFA is again under mounting criticism following the sacking of senior executive Kevin Lamore following remarks he aimed at President Gianni Infantino. Lamore, who joined FIFA's senior leadership group in October 2024, stated that FIFA's controversial proposal to create a $20 billion subsidiary was the project of one man. According to Richard Masters, Chief Executive Officer of the English Premier League, FIFA is currently operating as a self-inflicted wound.
It's a problem of FIFA's making. This is a self-inflicted wound. They are the people, the organisation that has pressed the self-destruct button. I don't think that FIFA should be ever contemplating selling off a stake in the World Cup. They're a not-for-profit organisation. They should really be holding that competition in trust for the future of football. So I think it's a bad idea, and the FA have taken the right position with regards to Gianni.
Masters has backed English Football Association's withdrawal of support for Infantino and called for new candidates to step forward in a bid to unify the sport. Now to cricket, as West Indies all-rounders Justin Greaves and Hayley Matthews have achieved a rare feat by winning the ICC Player of the Month awards for July. It marks the first time that both awards have been won by West Indies players simultaneously and is only the 5th time since the awards began in January 2021 that players from the same nation have secured both honours. The 32-year-old Greaves beat out England's Harry Brook and Tanzid Hassan of Bangladesh for the coveted prize, while Matthews, the West Indies women's captain, overcame challenges from England's Nat Shriver-Brunt and Sri Lanka's Harshitha Samarawikrama. Greaves claimed the award after starring in successive test series against Sri Lanka and Pakistan and was named player of the series on both occasions. Matthews copped the award for a 5th time after a superb performance against Ireland women in their one-day international series. The 28-year-old had a prolific run for the West Indies in Ireland, scoring 265 runs over 3 games and secured a 3-0 series win for her team. And hard-hitting all-rounder Andre Russell is urging the Jamaica Kingsmen to end the home leg of the Caribbean Premier League on a high following their victory at Sabina Park in their previous encounter. The Kingsmen will take on Jason Holders and Kitts and Nevis Patriots at Sabina Park tonight starting at 7 p.m. as they end a 4-match home stretch. Russell is hoping to have a happy ending.
It means so much to all the players that dream over the last couple of years that we've been dreaming about. It's not reality. So to hear those horns at Sabina Park, it's a memorable sound. A 6 or a wicket or a 4, the horns, it just keep getting louder and louder. So it means a lot to the younger generation. I think a lot of people kind of give up on cricket in terms of this franchise thing, and I'm happy that the government and good owner like our owner get involved and get back this amazing sport back in Jamaica.
Kingsmen opening batsman Kirk McKenzie added that playing CPL cricket for his home franchise is a dream come true.
Growing up, being on one side, cheering on guys like Russell Ravman, blowing the horns, and now being on the other side, hearing the horns being blown, for me is a surreal feeling, to be honest. Didn't have this franchise at home for quite a while, and now it's back home. I was playing games at home in front of our family and friends. Exciting feeling.
Jamaica Kingsmen are currently at the foot of the standings on 2 points with 1 victory from 4 games. And Jamaica's Davija Brown and Brianna Plummer have been selected in a 22-member squad to attend a Cricket West Indies high-performance camp to begin preparation for the ICC Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup scheduled for next year. The squad was selected based on the performance at the recent Rising Stars regional tournament, which concluded on Saturday in Antigua. The camp will extend beyond on-field development, continuing CWI's broader commitment to preparing young cricketers for the demands of high-performance sports and professional cricket. The players will also work with several members of the high-performance staff, led by Ryan Austin, who's assistant coach of the West Indies women, and Shane Dowich. Trinidad and Tobago, who won the regional title unbeaten, bagged 7 selections, while beaten finalists Barbados came in with 5. And finally, in basketball, the quarterfinal round of the GK1 Howard McCarthy Community Basketball League gets underway on Tuesday with 4 matches scheduled across 3 venues. With a place in the semifinals at stake, all 4 matches are expected to produce intense competition as teams begin their push for a spot in the Final 4 of the Community League. At the Arnett Gardens Court, Majestic Garden Legends will face Garden Pen Dragons in the opening game of a doubleheader at 6:30 p.m. The second game at this venue will see host Arnett Gardens Rockers take on Grand Spend Giants at 8 p.m. Meanwhile, at the UTEC Court, Edgewater Wolverines will battle Caribbean Basketball Academy at 7 p.m. The day's final match will take place at the Up Park Camp Court, where the Kings will go up against the Army Men at 7 p.m. I'm Alex Riby, and that's your sports.
KFC, summertime and the vibe is right. So my bucket fit the crew and we feel alright. 9 pieces of chicken with the family fries and a 2-liter Pepsi on the side. When we roll out, when we go out, so my bucket are the one thing we sure about.
Enjoy the taste of summer with the KFC Summer Bucket. 9 pieces of delicious chicken, a family serving of fries, and a 2-liter Pepsi. All for $4,700. Available for a limited time. KFC, it's finger licking good.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Back to school season has a way of sneaking up on you. First, it's books, then uniforms, school shoes, a laptop, lunch money, tuition, and somehow the list just keeps getting longer. But here's the good news. Preparing your child for the new school year doesn't have to put your financial goals on hold. With a Barita Merchant Bank back-to-school loan, you can borrow $500,000 and above to finance tuition, books, uniforms, laptops, and other school essentials. You'll also enjoy low rates, reduced fees, and up to 5 years to repay, giving you the flexibility to prepare with confidence. Call 876-618-3455 or email banksales@barita.com or visit baritamerchantbank.com/school loans.
Discover taste and celebrate and have fun. Join the vibes, get on the road. Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
This month, get on the rum with Appleton Estate Jamaica Rum. Experience extraordinary live music across the island with our limited edition Appleton Estate Sherry Cask rum cocktails and more. Experience Appleton Estate like never before. Get on the rum and celebrate Appleton Estate Rum Month. Must be 18 years old to drink. Drink responsibly.
Yo, Jamaica, get on the road.
If you've ever called in, shared your story, or got help on this show, then you're already family. Now make it official. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Ocho Rios, are you ready? The biggest food event in Ocho Rios for the summer is almost here. On Wednesday, August 26th, it's Bird Shack's Ocho Rios BOGO Day from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. at the Ocho Rios Bypass Plaza. When you buy one double up combo meal, you get another double up free. That's right, buy one double up combo and get another double up combo absolutely free. One day only, one unbeatable deal. Bring your crew, your family, and come hungry because it's gonna be a day packed with flavor, fun, and excitement. And guess what? Miss Kitty will be broadcasting live on Nationwide 90 FM from 1 to 3 p.m. bringing the vibes and turning Bird Shack Ochi into the place to be. So save the date, Wednesday, August 26th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Bird Shack at the Ocho Rios Bypass Plaza. Buy one double up and get another double up absolutely free. Bird Shack, twice the flavor, same price. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice noted, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
He never shies away from taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
The most riveting discussions.
Voyagings after dark.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings this and every Wednesday from 8 to 11 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
You can't miss.
What's buzzing?
Celebrity outfits.
Is that a hit or a miss?
Bust the odds.
Jamaica's Got Talent.
Wait, war man.
Hot takes.
Talk up the takes.
Actual factual. Life is short. Voyagings After Dark.
Come get your mind blown.
And your curiosity explored.
Are you ready to level up your future? The University of the Commonwealth Caribbean is hitting the road, and Nationwide 90 FM is bringing you all the action. Broadcasting live from the Halfway Tree Transport Center on Friday, August 28 from 1 to 3 p.m. with your hosts, Kareem and Honey B. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM and on YouTube at NNN Radio Live for the inside scoop on scholarships, flexible payment options, and career-focused study pathways designed to move you forward. Better yet, bring a friend and come on down. Get your one-on-one with the UCC representatives who will be ready to answer all your questions. That's the UCC Recruitment Roadshow, Friday, August 28th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Halfway Tree Transport Center. Keep your dials locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. UCC, fostering leadership and innovation.
Good evening, listeners and viewers. Welcome back. It's time for the nation's business. I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell, and we turn to matters of earthquake preparedness. Earthquakes have been making headlines around the world with powerful tremors striking different countries in recent months. The frequency of these events has once again raised questions about how prepared countries are when the ground begins to shake. Jamaica is no stranger to earthquakes. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management says Jamaica can experience up to 200 felt earthquakes in a year.
But the real concern is not how often we feel a tremor. It is whether we are prepared for the earthquake that could cause serious damage. In Jamaica, earthquake awareness and preparedness drills are regularly encouraged, including exercises in schools. ODPEM also provides earthquake safety training and conducts earthquake drills to help people practice how they should respond. Well, are schools, businesses, communities, and households conducting enough drills? And are we taking earthquake preparedness seriously enough before a major event happens? Those are the questions we explore now as we look at the earthquake frequency, Jamaica's level of preparedness, and the importance of regular drills. In order to have that discussion, we are joined by Chief Strategy Officer with the LEAP Co., that's Dr. Paris Lee Uai, Junior Scientific Officer at the Earthquake Unit of the University of the West Indies, Mona Carleen Black, and Information Officer at the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, Zadia Newville. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening to you all. Starting with Carleen Black, we see all the headlines recently almost across the world, earthquakes in Japan, major earthquakes in Japan, Colombia, Venezuela, and I'm sure there are some that I've missed. And we keep hearing this often stated anecdote that Jamaica is overdue for a major earthquake. Under the circumstances, is there any link between the tectonic activity we're seeing elsewhere, and should we have that expectation here that something could similarly happen?
Okay, that's a mouthful. But before I go ahead, just to say that Jamaica experiences more than 200 earthquakes every year, but majority are not felt. Just that small correction. Okay, now in terms of the earthquake activities that we've been seeing, a lot of them have been in what you call the Ring of Fire, which is the Pacific, in the Pacific Ocean. And those areas, they always get large earthquakes every year. So really what I think has been happening is that with social media, everything is being known to everyone even before agencies and governments can package the information and present expert advice. So I think it's a bit of hysteria. People are realizing that so many earthquakes can happen and are happening. For example, the magnitude 7 earthquakes. Every year you get anywhere from 10 to 18 of these earthquakes. We've only gone 10 so far, so it's not out of the ordinary.
But I suppose it's not exactly the magnitude, but where the epicenter is, essentially.
Well, the epicenters, for the most part, have been where we expect them to be, which is at the fault zones. In the Ring of Fire, you have what you call subduction-type earthquakes. So you have one plate being pushed under another, and those areas are where you get the strongest earthquakes. So you can get the magnitude 8s and even the magnitude 9s. So that area is expected to have these large earthquakes.
Just to clarify, does Jamaica fall within that Ring of Fire?
No. No.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm very, very happy to hear that.
Sorry, Colleen. I just have to chime in.
Okay. So please, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:31. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the Nation's Business. We're talking earthquake preparedness here on our little island. We have the Street the Chief Strategy Officer with the LEAPCO, Dr. Paris Liuai Jr., the Scientific Officer at the Earthquake Unit of the University of the West Indies, Mona Carleen Black, and Information Officer at the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Zadia Newville. So bringing you in, Dr. Liuai, in terms of preparedness, what is the standard in terms of the necessary drills that must be run on a regular basis, would you suggest for a company in terms of getting prepared for the potential of an earthquake happening?
Well, I mean, the most fundamental element of any disaster preparedness, especially one like earthquakes, is going to be something that's rooted deeply in the culture, where people are disciplined, where people are they know exactly what to do, when to do, and the most important thing is to avoid panic. When in countries like Japan, where earthquakes are extremely frequent, when we do have the severe earthquakes, the over 6 magnitude earthquakes, and employees would just shake it off and go right back to work and finish their lunch and continue their meetings. It's something where these societies are far more deeply understand the systems that they're in, they trust in the systems, they understand the buildings are safe, they understand that their families will be safe and they can move on with their lives. But we have to start somewhere. Everything from the schools, everything from the standard operating procedures of businesses, all of these things have to understand that we're looking at a system and not just an individual workplace or an individual room or an individual company we're talking about. Everything is interconnected, and people have to understand that in the event of a disaster or earthquake.
And Zadia Newville, looking at Japan as a model, because as Dr. Liuai pointed out, they experience very frequent earthquakes and very severe earthquakes, but yet when you compare, say, a Japan to a Venezuela and a Colombia, and you realize the casualty list is extremely low. I believe the last major earthquake there quite recently, not a single individual died or was injured in Japan. But then you compare that to Colombia and Venezuela, where we're talking hundreds of individuals. And I suppose it just comes down to how they prepare and how they build. Is there anything that we can take from the Japanese model and apply it here to Jamaica in case we run up afoul of a similarly significant magnitude 7+ earthquake?
Well, as Dr. Parry just said, preparedness is key. And we are blessed, I would say, with a fairly robust building code here. And that is number one. But we also need to practice, because the practicing because OPM does these drills in schools, in workplaces, everywhere, because we want people to get into the habit of practicing how to protect themselves when an earthquake strikes. Drop, cover and hold, or stand in the doorway. We also want them to prepare the home, fix the large pieces of furniture to the wall, things like that. It is going to be hard to say that everybody should assess their homes for structural weaknesses, but you can do, some checks and so on, and you can make sure that you follow the rules that we're asking you to learn in terms of covering yourselves and going under a sturdy table and things like that. Certainly not the bed, but strong tables and so on. Not to rush outside. If you're outside, you stay outside. You stay away from trees and big walls and buildings and poles and that sort of thing. So it's about practicing to keep yourself safe. We have no 100% protection, but we can do as much as possible to prevent serious damage to self.
And on that matter of building codes, does ODPEM have a hand in ensuring that those building standards are to such a level, I won't say earthquake proof, but at least resistant up to a certain point?
We do have organizations in Jamaica that take care of that. ODPEM is as a coordinator, work with the various institutions. And of course, you have the University of Technology and the various institutes, the construction people who work within their grouping and work with the ODPEM to ensure that the structures are secure.
And the
they
Bureau
are not
standards,
responsible for checking buildings, but they're the fire as well. And Dr. Leo Ai should be able to give you some pointers on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Bureau of Standards does the work on the building codes. But there's something I want to connect with what you mentioned about Japan compared to Venezuela. And Carlene can check my numbers, but Venezuela had a earthquake in June that was 7.2 magnitude.
Yes.
That was stronger than the Haiti earthquake in 2010. But 6,000 something people died in Venezuela and 250,000 people died in Haiti. Okay? So again, when you talk about the building codes, even in Jamaica, squatters build with block and steel. So there is a nugget of best practice that we have in Jamaica that we can just develop a little more in terms of getting people to understand fundamentally that safety has to be built in to how people live, where people live, and what people do. And that is something that's going to be important. In Haiti, we had squatters living in refrigerator boxes. Totally different situation than Jamaica. And that was a totally different situation than Venezuela, which is a totally different situation from Japan.
So the best practices or essentially or lived experience with hurricanes translates very well to earthquakes?
Some regard, but I'll let Carlene answer that.
Carlene?
Yes, I'm here. Well, you see, what happened after 1907 earthquake that destroyed Kingston, you know, Jamaicans on a whole realized that we needed to be building better. And so with each improvement in the building code, even though for many of the years it was not regulated or in an act in law, our engineers and our contractors, they have all been following these updates and building better each time. So what we have to look out for are the older structures, which were built before the current code and even before the codes going back to, say, the 60s. And, of course, we have to do our due diligence and ensuring that the code is being followed by all of the development that is going on. So private citizens, even if you're in the deep bush and you're building, they need to have their plans approved. That will solve the problem.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. And Zediat Newville, when it comes to an earthquake, what happens after the disaster has passed comparative to what most Jamaicans are more used to in terms of a hurricane? I'm sure the level of chaos after a major earthquake is going to be quite different than after the passage of a hurricane. Is ODPEM in a position where it can respond effectively, particularly when I'm sure there are going to be communication challenges?
I would agree with you on that one in terms of the communication challenges. However,
Ms. Newville, are you there? Oh dear. It looks like we lost.
I'm trying to answer that question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, the ODPEM has been battle tested with Melissa, right? And a lot of the improvements that are going to be happening with ODPEM, all of those things will address the post-earthquake scenario. The critical difference between an earthquake aftermath and a hurricane aftermath is really the onset, right? The earthquake is going to be sudden. There's going to be a lot of shock happening in terms of what happened, what's going on, etc. But when you look at the disaster, when you look at the impact of down infrastructure, marooned communities, loss of life, loss of property, those things are going to be fairly similar in terms of a post-disaster, whether it's a hurricane or earthquake.
Yes.
The difference, though, is, like I said, the shock of it. We're going to see buildings collapse. We're going to see landslides and breakaways. We're going to see bridges, all of those type of things. I'm sorry to be so,
it's the reality. I don't think you don't need to really apologize. This is the reality of what could happen.
No, of what could happen, and exactly. The thing also is that when you do have, and you mentioned epicenters earlier, epicenters themselves are just where the earthquake began, where the earthquake waves propagate to, and how they react to the surface, and how the surface reacts to things on the surface is all going to be different depending on the nature of development and whatever. So all of the, and then of course we haven't even mentioned tsunami and those types of risks. But you do have to understand that in a post-disaster scenario, ODPEM has now been battle-tested. We do hope that they are better than they were before, and certainly the capabilities are going to be improved, etc. But in terms of getting mobilizing and those types of things are going to be very important. Shelters are going to be damaged, all of those things. So you're going to have to be very, very adaptive in a situation that is going to be extremely chaotic.
Ms. Newville, we have you back?
Yes, I'm here.
So Dr. Leroy was singing the ODPEM's praises. I hope you're here now to say, yes, he's absolutely right.
Yes, he's absolutely correct. We have a national earthquake response plan, and that allows us to, of course, activate our NEOC, the National Emergency Operations Center, through which we coordinate. As we said earlier, yes, we've been tested, and as we build back, or rebuild, as we like to say, we will, our systems will be reinforced. We are reinforcing communications with, and we put additional redundancies in place to ensure that we will be connecting with each other and the wider community. The thing is that we will continue to prepare, and we will continue to run the drills. We work through our network, which includes the municipal corporation, and so I will say that we will do as much as we are able to, and we will continue to build on our capacity to respond and respond effectively. Can I say ODPEM is prepared? Yes, we are, because we are the coordinators, and where we are having issues, we can reach out to our partners for support. So yes, I think we're in any country. You really can't say that you're fully prepared because it's an earthquake, and we can't determine what level, what the intensity it's going to be. But as much as we are able to coordinate, yes, we are ready.
Excellent. That is the Information Officer for the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Zadia Newville. We also had with us the Chief Strategy Officer with the LEAPCO, Dr. Paris Liuai Jr., and the Scientific Officer at the Earthquake Unit of the University of the West Indies, Mona, Carleen Black. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. The headline, the Around the World is next, listeners.
The Jamaica International Financial Services Authority promotes Jamaica as a jurisdiction for international financial services. Visit JIFSA at jifsa.gov.jm. The time by JIFSA is...
It's 6:46.
Hey, turn up to 25. Turn up to 25. Could I drive out fresh in a MG ride with a staycation all inclusive flex? Yeah. I touch a million cash. Yes. Smart TV, PS5, and home upgrade.
Turn up your winnings this summer with Digicel. Sign up or switch to postpaid or Digicel Plus. Buy a SIM. Top up with 5 bills or more. Buy a 7-day plan or higher. A smartphone deal or just pay your bill. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promotion period June 24 to September 5, 2026. Visit DigicelJamaica.com for terms and conditions.
Welcome back, listeners. It's time for Around the World, and Meta, the operator of the social media platforms including Facebook and Instagram, are facing their biggest trial yet, with the tech company being sued for the value of the company that's US $1.4 trillion. This is not Meta's first legal battle over alleged harm to young people. The company has faced a wave of lawsuits, including actions brought by more than 40 U.S. states and the District of Columbia over claims that its platforms are addictive and damaging to children's mental health. The latest trial underway in Oakland, California stems from a 2023 lawsuit involving 29 U.S. states. The states accuse Meta of deliberately designing Facebook and Instagram to keep young users engaged for longer, while allegedly collecting their data and failing to properly warn the public about potential risks. Meta denies all allegations. More on this report from Channel 4 News.
It's a feeling familiar to so many of us, young and old, getting ever more enmeshed in the personally tailored feed, successive doses of dopamine pulling you further in. All the while, the awareness there's a powerful, unblinking force on the other side of the screen, monitoring and manipulating. And the chief concern, the impact of all this on our children, and just how much the giant tech companies know about it. That's at the heart of the case being brought by California's Attorney General and his colleagues from 3 other states, suing Meta potentially for hundreds of billions of dollars. Activists and families of children allegedly harmed through social media use gathering in support.
It is time that the public see what the executives at Meta have known all along, that their products are designed to addict and harm children. The names on that banner whose lives were cut too short. There is an 8-year-old on that banner.
Advertisers were allegedly giving access to our children so beauty ads could be delivered at the very moments these girls were at their most vulnerable. Let that sink in. When my daughter was struggling, it became Meta's bottom line.
The case seeks to establish 2 key things: that children are being addicted and harmed not just by the content available on Meta's products, but by their very design, and that Meta was well aware. Meta says the state's claims are unsubstantiated and their financial demands disproportionate. It says it stands by its record of creating strong protections for teens. Channel 4 News has obtained internal documents from a previous case, conversations about platform design and target users. One employee said in an internal chat, "Instagram is a drug." A colleague replied, "Lol, we're basically pushers." And when it came to young users, an internal strategy document suggested if we want to win big with teens, we must bring them in as tweens. Facebook also described under 13s as a big build opportunity. Meta told us some of that language was inappropriate, that it dropped its planned under 13 product, and that it has safeguards for reducing teen engagement and exposure to sensitive content. Meta's boss has previously called crime on social media as inevitable as it is in society.
I don't think that the standard for our platforms would be that you should assume that it will ever be perfect.
Already this year, in 2 separate cases centering on childhood social media addiction and mental health harm, Meta has been told to pay damages of nearly $1 billion. The company is appealing both judgments. Mark Zuckerberg is among many tech leaders to have cozied up to the Trump White House. The administration has been resisting attempts to regulate the companies at home and abroad. So campaigners are investing their hopes instead in the legal system. 4 states here representing 29 in all, in a case that with appeals could go all the way to the Supreme Court. For the families here, a symbol of the cost of delay, the newest section of their banner, names of young people added in the last 5 months.
Harry Fawcett. Well, joining me now from British Columbia is the lawyer Matthew Bergman, founder of the Social Media Victims Law Centre. He's represented young people and their families in legal actions against social media platforms. Matthew Bergman, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Not only have you represented victims in some of the biggest trials so far, you've also briefed the British government on this issue. How important is this trial? Is this the big tobacco moment for social media?
Well, this is the third time in 4 months that Meta has faced a jury and been held accountable. So this is an inflection point in a long, hard road toward accountability.
And what will that road look like for Meta at the end of the day?
Well, at the end of the day, what we have learned from these trials is that moral persuasion does not work with these companies. There are many people within these companies who are currently inveighing against corporate leadership, trying to implement basic safety improvements, such as those that were imposed upon Meta by the court in New Mexico. But time and time again, those suggestions are rejected anytime it impacts profitability and the ability to keep kids addicted. So we believe that the only way to change their behavior is to hit them in the pocketbook. And this trial is one of an ongoing efforts to accomplish that objective.
But we also know that the political climate has changed in favor of less regulation. Mark Zuckerberg, donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration ball. He was invited to the inauguration, and soon afterwards, they sacked thousands of so-called moderators to try and look at some of the content. I mean, does he think he's acting with impunity in the political landscape at the moment?
Well, I don't believe so. As divided as American politics are on these issues, Republicans and Democrats are very closely together. And a bill was voted out of the Senate Commerce Committee on a bipartisan basis, the Kids Online Safety Act, just last week. And so we are hopeful that despite Mr. Zuckerberg's efforts, that senators and congresspeople will listen to their constituents who are parents who are just terrified about what their kids are encountering online.
And is the defense going to focus on the fact that ultimately what happens to your kids is the responsibility of either them if they're over a certain age or their parents?
Yeah, that's what we see. We see you blame the victim, you blame the parents, you blame anything other than your own platforms. Look, we're all in favor of parental responsibility, but these platforms are explicitly designed to evade parental responsibility. Instagram encourages kids to open Finstas, fake Instagram accounts. They call that a value add. And they encourage and provide opportunities for kids to hide their online activity from their parents' watchful eyes. So parents are really trying to paddle upstream as they try to control and try to monitor what their kids are doing. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Even if they're found guilty and they get hit with a massive fine, they've already had to pay $1 billion US, which I guess you could say is chump change when they're worth 1.4 trillion. But even if they get a bigger fine, what difference will that make to the company?
Well, we believe that ultimately it will make a huge difference because we've learned that moral persuasion doesn't work. Public humiliation doesn't appear to work. They've been excoriated in Congress, in the UK, and in the EU. It doesn't work. What works is to make it more expensive for them to design and produce dangerous platforms than safe ones. And if they have to bear the economic costs of what their platforms are doing to young people in the form of money damages, their behavior will change. If they have to follow the same rules that any other company in the UK or the US does, which is to basically utilize reasonable care or bear the financial consequences, their behavior will change. So the mere fact that this trial is starting is a huge inflection point in the overall battle toward accountability. For 20 years, these companies evaded any legal scrutiny, and this is an ongoing effort that is now expanding not just in the United States, but in the UK and elsewhere in the world to hold these companies accountable in courts of law.
Those who represent the social media giants or speak on their behalf, including in the administration, have said this is just making a hell of a lot of money for the trial lawyers, including people like you. What do you say to them?
I say to them that this is the most important battle that I have ever fought as a lawyer. This, to me, has the same resonance as the civil rights movement. And if I don't make a penny and I save one life, it's all been worth it. And if I never have to speak to another family who's lost a 14-year-old child to suicide, I'll be the happiest man on earth.
Are you confident of winning?
I am confident. I am hopeful, but I've always learned as a trial lawyer never to be too confident. I prefer to be I prefer to be over-prepared.
Matthew Bergman, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.
There you have it, listeners. Meta coming under intense pressure as social media. I think I've said it before, but I mean, what is the average day for a child now when they're at home and you're at the dinner table and they're scrolling through their phones, scrolling 30-second video, next 30-second video, next 30-second video, and that seems to just be the average life of a child now. And while I hear the argument that parental responsibility is important, the thing is, when I was growing up, my source of entertainment, so to speak, was television or, say, a computer, and my mother would simply turn it off and send me to my bed. But no, you can turn off the television, you can turn off the computer, and the child just take the little tablet or the phone into his room and doing the same thing, just scrolling 30-second video, scrolling 30-second video. You cannot control it as well as you'd wish unless you're simply going to take away the phone. But you don't want to deprive your child of what is still a very valuable piece of technology in terms of their education and their safety as well. So we have to find the proper balance, and we have to recognize that while the sort of harms that social media and technology now represent aren't necessarily new and novel, but it is the ability for them to be more pervasive, more targeted, and more directly linked to your person and particularly the personage of your children, which is why I feel regulation is very important in these matters. You don't know what is the impact in terms of their development until it is too late. And that is what we have to try and fix. I don't know if we can do it here as Jamaica by itself, but it seems the larger giants such as the United States and the United Kingdom understand the problem now and are facing it in the most direct ways possible through lawsuits and tighter regulations. So I hear the arguments for freedom of speech, I understand, and I don't want those regulations to overstep, so to speak, whereas you as an adult individual can't make an informed choice about how you want to spend your time. But we have to worry about the kids, people. It's just a simple matter of as that. The kids need our protection, whether they want to believe they do or do not. So let's work toward that simple goal of protect the kids. Let's keep the kids safe. I think we can all agree with that one. So listeners, let's leave it there. Please stay tuned for the comment section with Mahiri Stewart and Shalois Michael. Thanks to our super producer for the evening, that is Sonia Stewart. She was assisted by Jennifer Kennedy. Remind me? Jasmine, that's such a lovely name. Jasmine Kennedy was her assistant this evening. The super technical operator, Andrew the Glenn, the big man, the Boogs Anderson, the best news and production department led by the very capable Cara Powell. I've been your host, Siobhan Campbell. And again, I thank you, YouTubers. I don't have the time to shout out this evening, but thank you all for joining me on this journey. Have a good evening.
Heading back to university this summer? You're probably thinking about tuition, books, and maybe even replacing that laptop that's been hanging on by a thread. We've all been there. The good news? Paying for your education doesn't have to happen all at once. With a Barita Merchant Bank,